Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Digital Lifestyle Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Karen McCarran.
I'm Ken McCarran.
He's the other
We're
host.
from the Content Company.
Yes, we are. So we have my good friend and becoming Ken's good friend, Travis Rosser, on the show. You're our first guest on this show, so welcome. This might be a complete gong show, so we'll see how it goes. But
nice. I'm glad to be first.
Thank you. That's what Jamie Kern Lima says. You're not crazy, you're just first. So
you're the trailblazer.
Is that what we're calling
you?
Okay. So Travis, welcome. I'm not going to do a big intro. I much prefer when guests tell kind of their version of how they got where they are, but you're a digital entrepreneur. We've known each other since 2019. Has it been that long? Oh my gosh. Yeah. So I'm just going to turn that off. Travis and I did a Tony Robbins event together called Date with Destiny. It was brutal, and we became fast friends. We were in the same group. His wife, Paola, is one of my best friends. She was sick, we think, with COVID that day. So I didn't get to hang out with her. Yeah, that was
she was early.
She was early. Of course she is. So her and I didn't get to hang out too much, but you and I hung out a lot that week, and it was awesome. And you've become one of my dearest friends, and I deeply appreciate you coming on the show. So tell us a little bit. So kind of the big thing is you were co-founder of Kajabi, and now you're co-founder of Tap Member. So maybe just kind of give like your Coles Notes version of how you got where you are and how you became a digital entrepreneur.
Yeah, I mean, we met at Date with Destiny. I'm a huge Tony Robbins guy, and that was definitely a cool time in my wife and my life. It was awesome. As I'm doing this, someone across the street is literally cutting down a tree. So I don't think it's picking it up, but on my end, all I hear is
so I can't hear anything.
No, we're good.
Okay, perfect. So digital entrepreneur, that's an interesting term that I didn't really think about when I first started this. Yes, I did develop and co-found Kajabi, which has had huge success. I mean, I think the latest thing they've said is that these digital entrepreneurs have made $5 billion from this concept and this platform that we built. I discovered digital entrepreneurship kind of on accident, like everybody else. I've worked in technology for a long time, building software, building websites, living in Southern California. So life is very expensive here. Homes are very expensive here. And so as I sat in my cubicle in the early 2000s, somebody showed me audible.com and digital books. And that started opening my mind and really just made me become an entrepreneur again. As a kid, I was an entrepreneur. I mowed lawns. I did the lemonade stands. I did all this stuff to try to make a little bit of extra money. Then I got in a professional career and I was sitting in a cubicle. And I remember thinking, like, I'm never going to make enough money to buy a house. It's the same thing a lot of young people struggle with as they start their career. And this is a long time ago. This is 24 years ago. And I would study all kinds of cool stuff. And I remember there was a guy named Corey Ruddle who was huge in internet marketing. He had a company called Internet Marketing Center, one of the first big ones before there was like Russell Brunson or anyone else like that was really big. Corey had this thing, and I would get what I thought was spam from him all the time. And he was like, "Oh, do this email marketing, do this opt-in page, come to my conference." And I'm like, "This guy's such a scam." Well, Corey Ruddle died in a car crash, like a race car accident. And so in our local newspaper, I think I saw it digitally. I don't want to date myself too much, but I remember reading an article about his life. And it was all these things that he had always been emailing me. And all of a sudden, the reality came together that this guy was making money. So I went to my first internet marketing conference in 2004, right after Corey had passed. And his business partner was going to run the event. It was here in Newport Beach. And this is when my mind was really just exploding with, holy crap, people are doing the coolest things. At that event, I met a friend, Jermaine Griggs, who has hereandplay.com. He teaches you how to play the piano. And back then he would teach you how to play the piano and he'd ship DVDs. And at that point he was 18, 19 years old and he was almost making $1 million a year. And I'm like,
wow,
mind blowing. I met another guy back then who was teaching you how to play Madden football. And he was making $70,000 a month selling DVDs. It was all DVDs back then. Digital content didn't exist in any capacity. Like YouTube wasn't a thing yet. Even Netflix back then shipped all the DVDs in the mail. Like nothing was digital yet. But that's when I learned about internet marketing, about how to market online, how to build a business online. And it really came from that driving force of how can I make more money? I've always been thinking that way. I mean, we've had a lot of conversations when you've hung out with us of how to be an entrepreneur. Now we have the whole side hustle. Back then we used to call it moonlighting, you know.
Yep.
And then the gig economy now, someone, you know, was saying that what we did at Kajabi, we helped launch the creator economy. And that's a
We
thing
did.
nobody would have thought of back then,
Yep.
right? And so that's the seed that was planted in 2004. And I'm like, how did these people do this? You know, what could I do? And then being in software, I was already building websites. That really set me on the path of what kind of tools could I build. And back then, my co-founder at Kajabi, Kenny, we had all these ideas. Also, another Ken,
We're
good
careful
name.
not to call him Kenny, just
Kenny,
senior present.
yes, yes. And so we would try things all the time. We tried all kinds of things. We even tried to build our own digital products. And the first digital product I did, I had a friend who would go fishing here in Orange County in Huntington Beach. And one afternoon, he caught two small little sharks and he wasn't able to return them. So he rushed them home in a bucket of water and he built a saltwater pond in his backyard for these sharks. And I remember I came over to visit him and he had it landscaped so perfectly. And these sharks were just chilling and swimming. And I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. And me being a side hustling guy, I'm like, we should start building these for people. Let's build them. And then we're like, what if we just shot some videos on how you did it and do a PDF? And then we put it on a system back then called ClickBank, which was the only way to really affiliate
I love
market, you know?
ClickBank.
Yep.
Remember that? That's old school, huh?
Yeah. I've sold tons of stuff on ClickBank.
I've been to the ClickBank headquarters in Boise, Idaho,
Nice.
and
Wow, that's cool.
which is what a great place to live. That'd be so incredible. Anyway, so back then, myself and my friend Tim, who had built this thing, I went and bought sharklagoon.com, built this little landing page, had a PDF that was delivered after you pay. I think I used a little bit of WordPress, and then I think I used a little bit of what ClickBank could do, but it was like crazy hard work. I think we eventually made $300 or $400, but that was my first time doing it
That was
myself.
your first taste of it all.
The first taste of it, yeah. And then later, Kenny and I did a thing where he was going to build this kid's car wash, and we called it Crazy Spray. And we did the same thing. We did like a landing page, and we sold digital files on how to build this kid's car wash toy. And I think that was when both Kenny and I, this was probably in 2008, were like, you could build a service. Because I'm the kind of person being in software that the best businesses that you really want to find profit start with a problem. And if you can solve the problem, make something easier, faster, cheaper, whatever, there's a business there. And Kenny and I saw the problem, but we had no idea what the solution would be. We didn't know that we could build a platform. Back then, we were going from phase web 1.0 to web 2.0, and that was a big deal in 2005, 2006. And I remember I listened to this really crappy podcast called the Web 2.0 Show. And it was just these engineers talking about code and about frameworks and how what was coming was this thing called Ruby on Rails that would allow you to build code very easily and cheaply. And that's what got us into building our own stuff. And then in 2009, I used Twitter to do networking because I knew that if I could find marketers that were selling content back then, DVDs, and we could convince them, hey, we're going to build this platform. Let us build it for you. We won't even charge you any money. That was the other thing too, is we built these networks for free. And then we over delivered. Like I call it white glove service, you know, where you come and you just do the best you can do. And some people then would charge, but for us, it was like, it's all free. And so our first couple Kajabi customers did free. We did free work and they made a lot of money. It was guys like Frank Kern and Jeff Walker, Brendan Bouchard, Andy Jenkins. People don't even know some of these names anymore because it's so big and it's been a long time ago. I mean, 2009. So we launched it and it blows up and it had a lot of ups and downs and a lot of struggles, but it also had huge successes. I think the biggest success we saw was we launched in 2010 and around December, we sent out a survey to all of our customers and we're like, how are you using Kajabi? And when I saw the results come back of people teaching how to fly a helicopter, how to become a fireman, how to do calligraphy, how to be a blacksmith, I was like, wow, holy crap, we've uncovered something. And we didn't even know. Like, I want to say that we were so strategic and we knew that we were going to help launch the digital economy, but we didn't realize that we built an on-ramp for people that never would have done it because it was too hard. In the past, if you wanted to sell online content, you had to build it custom for six figures plus, or you had to hack together WordPress and plugins, which would work, but it usually got hacked. It was ugly. It was terrible. And so by us building this platform, we solved a problem and we opened up a whole new market. And that's when I just dove in deep to analyzing our customers. I wrote the book You Inc., which is about Kajabi customers. There it is.
There it is right
Nice,
here.
nice.
I got my bookmark. I'm reading it. Good
Oh,
stuff
nice.
so far.
Thank you. I appreciate you reading it. It's always great when someone reads your book. And it's really about real people sharing their story. Like I got the pleasure of interviewing what we called Kajabi heroes. And so I did hundreds of these interviews with people, and the stories were so powerful that sometimes it would get emotional. And how could building an online business be emotional? But it gave people freedom.
Mm-hmm.
It saved people's marriages. It got people out of bankruptcy. People bought their first home. And forever, to even to this day, I get texts that people are like, Travis, I just became a millionaire this month because of Kajabi. And like, that's pretty cool. And it was me just following my bliss, what I thought was exciting and what
Mm-hmm.
was fun. And I am so grateful to have a career that was like a wave that went with technology as the internet, boom and busted, and then it grew again. And then social media and all the things that have happened is it's been so incredible. And now I'm hearing young kids talk about it that don't know anything about it, even though some totally do and they're incredible. But I'm hearing people tell stories of our stories, and it's not exactly the truth, like there's
Yeah.
even a better story. It's such a human story that I think
Mm-hmm.
people don't realize. Digital content and being a digital entrepreneur gives you such freedom.
Yep.
I mean, the freedom that you have, the freedom to make more money. See, that was the driving factors. I wanted to be able to buy a house in Orange County, which is outrageous. And so I knew that having a day job wouldn't do it. In fact, I also thought about this in the corporate world, like working in a cubicle. If I get promoted, then I get paid a little bit more with a lot more stress and a lot more
Yep.
responsibility. If I make it to that corner office, I get a lot more stress. I see my family a lot less and I make a little bit more money. And so right away, I think I was over the Kool-Aid. I didn't want to be part of the corporate world. And that was a driving factor when we were launching Kajabi, was to build a place that was the coolest company we could ever think of working at. And I think we drove towards that vision. And it's crazy how we didn't even think about the byproduct of these cool customers that became our friends, and that, like I said, it would get emotional, like hearing their stories. And when I exited Kajabi in 2018, that's when I wrote the book about my journey of building Kajabi. And then hearing their stories was so awesome. So that's kind of the nutshell.
Wow.
Gets me to here. I'm now working on this cool thing called Tap Member, because I want to get back to helping those customers, helping those people that are in that position of I have something cool I want to share. I have a community I want to connect with. And with Tap Member, I'm kind of rethinking everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I see an angle that's being missed completely. And I know that whenever there's a small market share that is not being served, it's an opportunity to get into the business. And so that's what we're working on right now.
Amazing. Well, thank you for that. I've heard that story and I've loved it every single time. I think that was probably Ken's first time, well, hearing it from you directly.
Yeah.
Um, and I think I'll just say too, like when it comes to digital entrepreneurship, it can, there's a lot of people that make it look a lot flashy and that whole game of like, look at my 15 Ferraris and my Bentley and all the things. And it's like,
Yes.
there's a grind in it that nobody sees. Like even with our company, right? The content company's 10
Yeah.
years old and we've been grinding 10 years. And this year we've pivoted and we've got really exciting things coming up, but it's
A lonely road. Yeah.
it is a lonely road.
Can be.
And I think
when
Mhm.
you're figuring things out.
yeah. And I think and that's part of why this podcast is really important to us, because I think, we can talk that, it's always the what do they call it? The highlight reel on Instagram and social. It's like all the beautiful shit, but
Totally.
nobody talks about the times when you've got 10 cents in your bank account and you don't
Yeah.
know where the hell you're getting your payroll and all that
There's no such
stuff.
thing as weekends anymore. And
No.
yeah, I still don't think we've gone on a vacation where I didn't have to do something during the period of time we were away since we started this. But again,
Yeah.
I was just thinking about that earlier because I had a job before, once upon a time, working in a lab testing lottery tickets, which I thought at the time was a decent job. I liked it. It was interesting. It was 3 days a
Mhm.
week, all that kind of stuff. But I
Mhm.
thought, now what if I had stayed there,
Mm.
we would probably own more property than we do now. We would probably, but then I thought I would be sitting there thinking, man, you missed the boat. You never tried. You didn't venture out and give it a go. I know exactly how it feels. It's awful feeling. So I was thinking that this morning, just, despite all the ups and downs in this type of lifestyle, it's just you can't have it any other way because you'd just be doubting yourself forever.
Yeah.
Which you were talking about the way you were talking about it, it's like you didn't see obstacles, right? You just saw the thing that you wanted to accomplish, and in almost like in a naive kind of way, let's just go get that. And there's no, no, this
Yeah.
is a great big worldwide thing that we're going to do. It's just, no, this seems cool. Let's try this out.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were pretty naive. It's the whole Steve Jobs thing of staying hungry and foolish, you know, when you're
Right.
young. Not that I
Yeah.
was that young. I was in my 30s, into my 30s as I was launching Kajabi, but yeah, staying naive is not a bad
No,
thing.
No, it's great.
it's great.
Even though excitement is important because that'll fuel you when you're excited about it.
Yeah.
And I loved being able to ride that wave of technology. I think past couple of years I've been getting back into it, and for a little while I started even getting overwhelmed, especially when AI came out. It was moving so fast, I was getting so overwhelmed, and then I was realizing that I do need to think about it as a wave and stop trying to
Yep.
paddle against it.
Right.
Just
I love
ride it.
that.
And it's a great way to filter out, well, what should I work on, because you don't have a boss anymore when you're
Yep.
on your own. And so the two things that I focus on is, number one, what is working? Like someone told me, lean into the good. Anything good, lean into it, because that's the sign. The other thing is, how do I feel about this? Now, some people will say, well, I enjoy video games, so I'm gonna play video games all day. I'm not working. Well, that's probably another sign that maybe you're doing the wrong thing, because
Mm,
the thing you do should be exciting. And if it's not, you need to make some adjustments. And it could be bringing on a partner that is excited about whatever that is that you hate.
right.
It could be shifting the target market you're going after. I mean, because yeah, it can be lonely and it can be overwhelming. And we were just I was such a tinkerer with technology that I just loved it. I mean, I would build things all the time. My background is design. Um, I struggled a ton in school. I flunked out of school. I only had like a marketing degree. Nothing wrong with that, but I didn't have a design degree.
Right.
I just kept working on stuff, and then I would get hired because I worked on it at home. I remember I used to buy these little PHP scripts, which is code that can
Mhm.
run a website, and it would do something like a business ranking website. And so I'd go buy Orange County Business Ranking.com or whatever. Then I would go get the script, I'd upload it, I put a brand on it, and then I'd sell it on eBay for like $500 after like 3 hours of work on a Saturday.
Yep.
And it was like it was my hobby, was learning about these digital things and how digital commerce worked. I don't know why I've always loved that. I feel like it just digital commerce gives us such freedom and such connection. I mean, I'm connected to people all over the world. I'm affecting people all over the world because of the thing that I built. And that's probably the coolest thing. The other thing I was going to say too is, there's nothing wrong with keeping a day job. I think
Right.
if you're starting out, I did that. I kept a day job as long as I could until something was profitable. So
Yep.
don't feel like everybody has to quit and just go for it. If you can have a day job, but just keep that time. Like, that's another thing. Gary Vaynerchuk, back in 2008, he gave this speech, and I'll give the PG version. He's like, quit effing watching Lost. And Lost was huge back then. So we all
Right.
watched it, you know, every week. And basically his point is, if you got a day job, you go to work, you come home, you spend time with your kids, they go to bed at 8, whatever, and you work until you can, and you get up and you go to work again. And that's how we built Kajabi, is we worked every night, sometimes all night.
Mm-hmm.
And it was because we were so excited about it. And you have to have that excitement. I mean, it
Totally.
just has to happen. And it's okay to shift. It's okay to change niches. It's okay, like I said, to bring on a partner, but find the thing that gets you excited. And it's not going to be hell yeah every day, but if it's hell no for weeks at a time, you got to make a shift. This is not a grind. Even though it is a grind, it's a grind.
But it doesn't feel that way.
Yeah,
It
because
feels,
it's
yeah, like there's an excitement level to it. And I love that you're saying that, because it, it's not about like, oh, fuck, I have to do my business again. It's like,
yeah.
okay, I get to do my business again. So, and I
Well, and
think, yeah, go ahead.
we're both Tony Robbins people, so you know, I think about things spiritually, and it's about
Mm,
divine inspiration.
yep.
And your body or the other side is always telling you that you're not good at this. This is too overwhelming. This is too hard. But every once in a while, you get caught up in this bliss and you're like, oh crap, I've been working on this forever.
Yep.
That's the thing you need to be working on,
Yeah. And I
whatever that
love that.
is.
So well, we have a list of questions, but like I suspected, we'll never get through them all, because this is how interviews go. They just take a life of their own. So I'm going to ask you one of them that I think will be kind of an interesting question. But what did you want to be when you were little, when you were a little
Oh
tyke?
man. Yeah, I don't know. You know, I grew up on a farm. I probably wanted to be a cowboy because we had horses. Yeah. I got kicked in the head when I was like, I don't know if you can, I have a scar right there when I was like 8 years old. I had a lot of
Wow.
injuries growing up on the farm because I was just crazy. I was jumping off of trees,
Oh
jumping
my
onto
God.
tractors. You know what's interesting is that's something that I learned too is I had fun as a kid building stuff because
Hmm.
I struggled in school. I stuttered really bad. So when I came home to our farm, it was my oasis. In
Right.
fact, I have in my office here a jar of dirt from the farm.
Mm.
Like a long time ago, I was in counseling and the counselor's like, you should go back to the farm and grab some dirt. He's like, that's where you became an entrepreneur. That's where you found your
Oh,
creativity. I'm getting goosebumps
I
talking about
know.
it.
I'm getting choked
And I
up.
think, and there's another book I read called The Prayer of Jabez. And basically, I don't remember where this is in the Old Testament. Basically, Jabez prays, God, increase my borders and protect me from evil. And it's a very simple prayer. But the whole book is about going back to when you were a kid, what was fun, you know? And for me, it was
Yeah.
like building things. It was like, I remember one time we had this irrigation pipe of water that busted. So it leaked water for months. My dad never fixed it. And not that much water, just a little bit.
Yep.
But it made a little stream that went on the edge of the farm. And I would go there every day with shovels and my trucks. And I would build bridges and like cities and like I dam up the water. And really, somehow as an adult, you have to find that again in whatever your craft is because it's in every single craft, even organization and spreadsheets. It's there.
Yep.
The thing that you did as a kid was a sign. And unfortunately, our society, our school system,
Mhm.
jobs all push us away from that because society needs us to be button pushers and
Yep.
employees. It
Sheep.
needs that. My whole theory is AI is going to completely change that. And things like what I built with Kajabi and what we've seen with YouTube and social media, it's going to go back to being really a creator economy instead of a builder economy. We're
Mhm.
still going to create, but there's going to be such a focus on, like I've noticed with TikTok, especially, I get so caught up in watching artists do their art.
Right.
I love it.
Yep.
Like there's a guy, his name is Mad Charcoal, and he does it all with charcoal.
Oh, nice.
And it's so, God, it's so good. I want to buy his stuff. I've never thought about buying art,
Right.
but because I've watched his process and I've really fallen in love with the way he talks about it, that I want to buy his stuff. And I think that's the future of the workforce is this digital connection that we can have.
Yep.
Digital creator does not mean that I'm a YouTuber or I mean it can, but it
Right.
doesn't have to be that. It could be I want to connect with people and mentor and help them. I mean, in the book, You Inc., I have the best stories of the most random people making money. Like there's a lady that was a judge for a photo competition, like this landscape photo competition.
Hmm.
She kept noticing that and she had wanted a bunch. That's how she became the judge. She kept noticing that people's um the things their entries were terrible. So finally she helped one person. She's like, if you just did this and this, you might win. And so she wasn't the judge anymore. And so she told her, and the lady won. And then the word spread. And then pretty soon she is a coach for this international art show. She makes six figures teaching you some tips. And I was like, that's what a digital creator should be doing. You're
Yeah.
creating solutions for other people. You're creating, you know, profit and an opportunity to build something. Like that's really what it should be about.
So you got kicked in the head by a horse or a person?
Horse.
Horse, holy cow.
I being a dumb kid, we had these little ponies and we would throw rocks at them because they would kick up and we thought it was so cool. They would buck around really bad. I should have never treated these poor animals this way. And so one of them saw
Got
me
his
come into the,
revenge.
I know he did. He saw me come into the corral. And right as I got close to him, my friend threw another one and that horse kicked up and got me right in the head.
Shit.
I've seen
So yeah, I have
horses
a lot.
kick stuff online and stuff. It doesn't look very good.
No, it was not good. And I had horse poop in my mouth and I had a black and blue mark
Oh,
around my face. I went inside. My mom freaked out.
oh my God. Jeez. That's a yeah.
Yeah, that'll soften up your skull.
Yeah,
You want to ask the
probably
next
did.
question? I mean, what you pick one. I know
Okay.
which one I want to ask, but you
Do you
pick one.
have any for yourself personally tips, hacks, things that help keep you in the zone each day, get you started, a morning routine, anything like that, that really on days when you're more low frequency to kind of boost yourself up?
Get you in peak state.
Peak state.
Yeah, I try to go for walks when I get stuck instead of I don't want to grind. If I feel like I'm not being productive, then I get out of here. I also write things down a lot. Like I'm very visual. Like I don't even know what that even says. Let me see if I have one that's more visual. But I just like I'm constantly drawing. boxes and squares of ideas. And I think
Getting it out of your
getting
head.
it getting it out of your head is a big deal. And then getting to a place, Keith Cunningham from the Tony World calls this thinking
Hello.
time. Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
God, you know Keith Cunningham.
Yeah, I have his book.
So
Supposedly
friggin'
he
funny.
is the rich dad from Rich Dad Poor Dad because he
Right.
knew Robert Kiyosaki. That's the
Interesting.
lore.
The
That's
road
the
less
lore. And it might be
stupid.
true
Yeah.
because he's incredible.
Fucking
So
guy's
Keith Cunningham will
hilarious.
tell you to set aside thinking time every day. And I do that a lot. I mean, that's how I come up with the ideas I have is get yourself into a quiet place, wherever that is, and think about the things you're working on. And back to spirituality, like I have a brain up here that's very ego driven and very problem solving and problem avoiding. But then somewhere, wherever it is, I have another version of myself that sees everything and sees the good in people and sees creativity. And you know that voice is talking to you when it's positive. You feel good about it, like you feel great. That's why play and fun will show you the things you're supposed to work on usually. You can't always depend on this. This is the computer that helps
You
you
can
push the
almost
buttons
never
for you.
depend on it, to be honest. Like that's
Yeah.
the get shit
Yeah,
done
well, it's
up
been
there.
influenced a lot over
Right.
the course of your life, the
Yeah.
brain part.
For sure.
Yeah, no, it's it'll force you to grind. The ego and the brain will force you to grind. It'll force you to work on something too long when you should have pivoted. When there's this other beautiful force that makes you feel good, it gives you goosebumps. It's when you're watching a story. Like, have you ever watched a movie and you see that moment when the hero finally, finally, it works out? Like, I think in life, and the brain is trying to do this. Everything works out. Hey, let's make sure this works out. Let's make sure we're safe
Right.
in this situation.
Yep.
Make sure these bills are paid. It means well, but there is a force inside of you that is telling you everything is always going to work out for you. In fact, I try to hack my brain all the time. I mean, in the Tony world, mantras, I totally believe in this, but I make up my own all the time. Sometimes they're only one word or a couple words because I don't like long ones. I do them a lot, especially when I wake up in the middle of the night and I feel the stress of life. That's when the ego kind of comes back to life and goes, oh shit, Travis, you forgot to do this. Today you got to do this. I start saying, everything always works out for me. Everything always works out for me. And if you look at your life and you give it enough time, you don't give up, things work out. Now, maybe it didn't work out the way you wanted, but it might work out better, or the solution might have happened. Like, I used to say this, I think I said it in the book too, about GPS, God pushing you softly. Like, pick a destination. I want to be a millionaire. I want to create a digital company, whatever it is, pick it, and then sit back and trust that you're going to go there. And the GPS will only tell you the next turn. Sure, you can zoom out and it might give you everything, but if you really want to be efficient, you only focus on the next step. And if you're quiet enough to where you can hear that quiet pushing, it doesn't have to be God. It doesn't matter. It's some force that keeps us alive. It keeps my heart beating. It keeps our ideas happening. It will tell you, Travis, get your notepad and write this down, or call Ken and set this meeting up, or do this. It will tell you the next step every single time. The ego will tell you 10 steps and 3 things you did wrong. They do work together, but the secret is how do you hear the quiet voice? The Bible calls it the still small voice. Like, how do you hear that?
You look like you're trying to, you got something in there to say.
No, I'm just listening. I'm wondering what your question. You're gonna have.
No, I was just gonna speak to that, but I think it's and to the people that are listening, like I think it's really important to know the distinction between the two, because if you've been at the game long enough, they definitely can meld together where you get confused. And I think, like in our example with our pivot in our company, Ken had to get still and I had to get still, and we had to think, okay, this isn't exactly, because nothing that's happening right now for us is what we thought. None of it. It's going to achieve the ultimate vision we had for our life, but certainly didn't go in the direction that we thought it would. And AI is a huge example of that, right? It's deeply impacted the content company because that's all we did was write content, and now we have to pivot and shift things. But I think it's important to note, like, as an entrepreneur, if you're sitting there and you're thinking, well, but this makes more sense. I think the critical piece that I've learned in my 48 years on planet Earth is stillness is how you hear, or really for me, feel the right direction. My brain is always telling me how to stay safe, how to not do the thing that's going to possibly blow up and blah, blah, blah. But I think, and that's like for us, for Ken and I, meditation's a huge thing. Mantras are a big thing. We've got affirmations all around our house. Like, I think those things are really important, but then trust is sort of the next level, right? Like you can get that
Mhm.
nudge from God, but then trusting it, I think, is the key that a lot of people go, yeah, but, and I think that's the trickiest, hardest part, is when you hear the vision, or you feel the vision and you are pulled, but then that ego, she's there to protect me. She's like, Kara, you can't do this. This is too fucked up.
Yeah.
But getting that
Yeah,
trust
you're
where
like,
it just,
danger, and
right,
then you kind
because
of
everything right now for a lot of businesses is danger. If you're paying attention to anything outside of yourself, you'd be
Totally.
shitting your pants. So I
Yeah.
think it's just that stillness of when you hear it, when you get that calling to do whatever for your business, to just be quiet with it and don't rush to make a move. Like there's a gift in that stillness, and I think it's important to pay attention to it.
and just keep in mind everything's always going to change. There used to be the tractors took the place of the horses, and then the internet took the place of, or a word processor took the place of the typewriter, and then this, everything's always changing and evolving and stuff. You just kind of have to, like, who would have thought people
Well, who would have
maybe
thought
maybe
this?
our age, yeah. When I was in high school, if someone said you're just going to sit there and you're going to talk to a guy in California on this cool screen and it's going to be live and you're going to have a computer in your pocket that you can do and all this, I would say, yeah, sure.
Totally.
That wasn't even, Back to the Future didn't even have stuff like that in it, kind of thing, and that was from the year 2000 they were looking ahead to, or whatever it was.
I always use Back to the Future as like time travel rules. Like Pay and I watched on Netflix, I think it's called Dark Matter, and it
Yep.
has to do with like, it's not time travel, but it's like dimensional travel. And I keep saying that they're breaking the Back to the Future rule.
It's not okay.
Yeah.
Kate, we're gonna pause here and jump off and take a bathroom break and come back so we get another 40 minutes here.
Good
And
idea. I was gonna recommend, why don't we take a break because
let's
we
do
don't
it.
feel like
I
we're
haven't
done.
even gotten
Okay, cool.
into favorite wrestlers and all
Oh
that kind
God,
of
he's
stuff.
gonna ask
I
me weird
know.
questions. So I have a weird question.
I don't think it's that weird.
Okay, well, Travis might think it's kind of weird, but well, maybe it's not that weird. Your questions might be more weird. What is your favorite pizza?
It says here, what was the best pizza you've
Okay,
ever
fine.
had?
What's right? Okay, so what's the best
Uh,
pizza you've ever had of all your traveling, because you've been all over the world? Best
I
pizza.
think the best pizza experience was when I ordered a pizza during the Tony Robbins event, and we were at home. I think Business Mastery. We were
Okay.
just talking about this before we were recording, and we were at Business Mastery here in the house, and Pay was doing something. So Payla was like on a call, so she was off of Business Mastery. I ordered pizza for us, and I got chosen by Tony to be on the Zoom.
Oh, right.
And I have a recording of this. I need to put this back on social media. And so I'm being called by Tony. Like, I don't remember if someone messaged me first, but I knew he was going to call me because something was happening. All of a sudden, my face was behind him on the Zoom. And I'm like, oh no, I am next. And I had ordered the pizza, but I forgot about it. So I'm
Oh,
talking to Tony about business. I don't remember what the question was. It was something about what I was working on, I think, and talking about business and marketing. And right in the middle, I hear ding dong.
oh my God.
And I'm texting Pay, like, can you get that? Like, and she's on it. She's like got everything on Do Not Disturb. She's doing her own call for coaching or something else. She took
Right.
a quick break. And I'm like, Tony, you're not gonna believe this. And so I'm like, I have a pizza guy at the door right now. And he's like, what? And he's got,
Oh,
100,000 people watching the Zoom. And he's like, you know what? Go get it. And he starts playing the music.
yeah.
And I grab my laptop, I take it with me. And literally, when I came back, Tony's like, that's never happened before.
Oh my God.
I even told the
Funny.
kid at the door, I was like, hey, I'm on a call with Tony Robbins. And I showed him the video, and the kid looks at the pizza guy and he goes, yeah, I'm not a football fan.
Oh my God. What did Tony
So
say to that?
Tony laughed. I don't think Tony heard me because it was so loud on his end because he's
Yeah.
got music pumping, but
Yeah.
he's very good at ad hoc, like ad-libbing something.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
pretty awesome. And I have it, some of my friends recorded it, so I have the screenshot from their view. Thank
Nice.
God. So I got to see it. But that was my best pizza experience. I mean, I just like pepperoni sausages. I'm simple.
But
I'm
like, where
never,
do you get pizza from? Like, I don't remember us ever ordering. Yeah, we did. Did we order? Have we ordered pizza
gosh.
from? I think we
So we
did the
used to
first
have
time
this
I came.
place, and I will not say their name because they suck now, but they're close by. And they said they used to import their water from New York City, which makes the dough better, supposedly.
Oh,
And for
that
years,
checks out.
this company was really good. And then all of a sudden their place sucks. So we're actually trying to find new pizza.
Mm.
So
We're
place
always
called First
constantly looking.
Class, I like.
We're looking
But
always looking for new
We're a
places
bit
to
of
try and
we're
do
kind of
things.
pizza people. Like we
I
really do
I'm a
enjoy good pizza.
I'm a pizza guy. I would love to add a pizza oven to the outdoor area. I think that'd be
Yeah.
pretty cool.
I will
You know,
never leave. Like legit, if you do that, I will stay there and be your pizza
wouldn't that be
maker
so
Well,
great? Like,
forever.
there's one near here, maybe 45 minutes, an hour from here, that they won
Oh.
best cheese slice in the world in some
Mm.
Las Vegas competition and stuff. And they said they had to rush a sourdough starter there for their crust or something like that.
Oh, right.
But it's in Hamilton, yeah.
Oh, right. You
nice.
should do that.
Yeah, we'll have to try that
I,
sometime.
I've gone through the phases of life where I'm doing no carb or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, because
Just never
I
really
like
happens.
carbs, I like beer and I like pizza, and those are so bad for your
Yeah.
health. Not really bad, but it doesn't help.
No.
But it's definitely guilty pleasure all the way.
Yeah.
Okay. The next question I want to ask is, what was your worst day in your business?
Worst day. Even though Kajabi was incredible, there were some hard days because we had huge growing pains. One of the hardest days was in 2010 before we launched in July. My business partner had gone on vacation, and so a lot of the developers were not available.
Mm.
And at the time, one of our first customers was using Kajabi because we only had 3 customers at that time, and something crashed, and I couldn't get a hold of anybody.
Oh.
And I like had full on nervous breakdown. In fact, during that whole time of building Kajabi is when I first had anxiety attacks. Like I never even knew about anxiety. I had anxiety like a normal person, but the stress of building something from scratch and going from being a consultant where maybe you have 1 or 2 clients at a time to 3,000 people using something,
Yeah,
gave me anxiety. In fact, there was times when I thought I had a heart attack. One time I went to the ER, for sure that I had a heart attack, but it was anxiety. And then I eventually just last summer had a heart attack, as you
yes,
guys
you
know, and
did.
almost died.
Well, you kind of
And
did die for a few
I
little bit there.
technically I did die in the
Yes.
ER. I flatlined. They had to zap me. I didn't know at the time. I thought I just had this really weird dream, which my wife asked me questions all the time
I
because
bet she does.
she loves near-death experiences, and I guess I had one, but I don't even know what I saw. Here's what I remember from that day is the pain was intense, and by the time I finally got to the ER at like 2 a.m., um, they gave me a lot of medication and I started to relax. And I remember in my mind, I was telling God, like, I'm just going to rest. Just let me rest. Because every breath I was thinking about to try to stay alive, like this feeling of you must stay alive was really strong inside of me.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I relaxed. And as soon as I relaxed, I saw a white room and then I was asleep, like fully out in my mind. I remember seeing this like orange diner, this old diner, like I was looking towards the wall and all of a sudden I was zapped out of it and I was back and they were operating on me, kind of like when you have those dreams, like you fall and you wake up.
Yep.
And later on, the doctor came to me and said, "Yeah, we lost you. We had to zap you." And I was like, in my mind, I was like, "That's what happened."
Yep.
So technically, I died.
You went to a
It went to a
diner.
diner. That's pretty cool.
That's where I'd go. I'd go to pizza someplace where there's
I
pizza.
don't know what it means. I don't know where I was. I don't know if it was an old memory or if who knows.
That's
But
cool.
yeah, I mean,
So-
business is great, but when you're on your own, here's the thing. If you want to really do something incredible, you have to keep leaving your comfort zone. And even just to build Kajabi, and even now as I advance in my career, you're always leaving your comfort zone behind. And I remember in the Kajabi days, I would say my comfort zone is on a different continent because every day it was something new. Whether it was recording videos, I remember hearing my voice for the first time.
I can't stand
And
that. Not your voice, but my own voice.
thanks. Yeah. No, but like we had to, I remember we built, it was called Kajabi Flight Academy, and we used Kajabi to train people about how to use Kajabi. So I was responsible for making all the videos. And I worked on the first 5-minute video. It took me like all day, like 7 or
Oh
8
my gosh,
hours to
that's
film
10.
it and then listen to my voice. And then now, like right now, I have my voice in my ear and I like to hear my voice actually, which is, it's hard to get to that point. But there's this surrender that you have to be like, this is just how everybody else hears you. And that's okay. Like when you see yourself sometimes from an angle you've never looked at yourself, like, oh my God, I'm so fat or I'm so weird.
Yep. So weird.
Everybody has always seen you from those angles and they still love you and think
Everybody's
you're
heard
great.
your voice forever, but when you hear it, it's kind of. Kara will be playing. I have another podcast that I do, and she'll be playing them back after I've recorded, and I hear it in the house. I'm like, no.
He's running around with his fucking ears
Turn
plugged.
that off.
You
I
are
know
laughing.
it's like fingernails on a chalkboard, but it's one of those
Yeah.
comfort zones you have to either ignore it like you're doing completely or just get over it. But you're going to do that all the time as an entrepreneur. That's why you got to make sure there's a lot of fun in this. This better be so fun that you wake up in the morning thinking about it. You wake up at night thinking about it. Like you got to pick a niche that's like that. And we live in a time where there's so many niches and there's niches inside of niches.
Yep.
And the whole thing, there's riches in the niches, and that is so true. I would never build a broad product. I went through a phase here where I'm like, I got to get a job, I got to do something. So I applied for all these jobs, and some of them wanted to build things that was for everybody. I'm like, I'm not interested in that. I want to build something for a smaller group that I know can grow into a bigger group, and then maybe we'll discover other groups we never thought of. But when you make your niche smaller, you might find the fun in whatever you're working on.
Hmm.
You might
Yep.
be shocked that it's fun.
Um,
So
what was your best day in business?
the best day in business was when I asked my wife out on a date because it was
Oh,
at Kajabi,
that's
and
cute.
that was incredible. And that was, even though it's funny, it's a whole nother story. If we're talking romance or something, she turned me down, which Carrie, this, but it
She
was still
did.
such a great day.
You
I
had to
don't know
work for
why.
it, let me tell
I
you.
know, I know. But I mean, at Kajabi, I've had a bunch. I do a lot of advising now, so I have a lot of days where I help these younger entrepreneurs, and then I'll get these messages back of the success they had or the adoration for my advice, which always blows me away. That my advice would actually help them, because my advice to me is just how I always think about things.
Yep.
The things you're natural at, you kind of take for granted, right? When you're,
Yeah,
yeah.
because it's normal for you, and that's the
Mhm.
beauty of what something like Kajabi did, is it allowed everybody to share themselves, and it was valuable to other people. That's why I called the book You Inc. Because the most important business you're ever going to build is yourself.
Hmm.
And when you focus on it like a business, like, is it healthy? Is it happy? Is it making money? Do people need it? Not that you want to be superficial, but like, if you can treat it like a business, your life will change a lot. Because this is why governments struggle versus a business, because a business has to make money, has to have income to stay alive, and a government doesn't. And
Yep.
that's a whole nother tangent we could talk about forever. But when you treat your life like, I better have things coming in that make me feel great, which is income for a business. I better have value that I'm putting out, which is the product or service as a business. Your life is better. You can't just be stale. And I think being an entrepreneur that works at home, it's easy to get stale. Like,
Oh,
you've
for
got to have
sure.
variety. You got to put yourself on a schedule. You don't have to follow everybody's rules. And I think Tony is a good example of, Tony's schedule is like crazy. He stays up late, and I
Yeah.
think he gets up pretty late. And
Yeah.
you need to find your schedule. You're not working 9 to 5 anymore. That means it doesn't need to be 9 to 5 anymore. It needs to be wherever your sweet spot is, and everybody's sweet spot is different.
Yep.
Not everybody is a 9 to 5 grinder. Some people are a get inspiration at night.
Well,
That's
I think
okay.
to jump in there, like I think one of the things too as a female entrepreneur, which women don't talk about this ever, and men don't obviously, but our cycles, right? Like I am, for those of you who are listening, Travis's wife Paola is one of my best friends, and she's an online coach, and an incredible human. And so one of the things I would say is couples working together, either on the same business or different, that's challenging. But as a
Mhm.
woman, like there's a lot of mompreneurs, we call them now, right? Where they're selling clothing online, they've got Amazon links, all that stuff. And I think it needs to be said, just to kind of bring the balance here, is like a woman, we have high output at certain times of the month, and we have low output at certain times of the month. And Ken can go, like you and Ken, any guy, their testosterone will reset in 24 hours. A woman's is 28 days, our hormones reset. So I think it's really key to mention, like, if you're a woman and you're an entrepreneur and you're listening, you'll start to know when those pockets, like I'm getting into a phase right now where I'm going to be more creative. So Ken, by the way, is unbelievable at knowing my cycle better
I'm a
than
master at the cycle.
he really is. And we've talked about on my separate podcast, but like
Yeah.
he knows for this chunk of the month, I'm totally useless and just let me lay in bed and design if that's what needs to happen. Then other parts of the month, I'm like this, let's get everybody on the podcast. Let's fucking fill our whole schedules up. And so I think it's important, like, just knowing that rhythm for a woman. And if you're, if you don't know that rhythm, reach out to me. I'm happy to help you, ladies who are listening. But it does make a difference. And I think when you get stale, sometimes like women traditionally, you'll see an entrepreneur, female entrepreneur, who during her PMS week, she's ready to throw the whole fucking thing in the trash, like burn the house down, flip the table, close the business, go work at
and
Starbucks.
make really life-changing decisions
Big
when
time.
there's no, I say that to you, right?
Yeah.
You're not allowed to make any decisions this week.
No.
Thing,
and that's the truth. Like I really am not allowed. Like he'll stop me and be like, you're in PMS week. You need to chill with the ideas or the changes because you don't feel like yourself. So I think women, when you're feeling that stagnant energy, check your cycle, see where you're at. If you're through menopause, because a lot of female entrepreneurs are well into their 40s and 50s now, they did the corporate thing and they're done. So I think it's, like an important thing to just say, like, check where you are in your cycle before you feel like things are actually stale.
From my perspective, I was actually looking up fasting for women because you hear all this conflicting information. I found a book called Fast Like a Girl by Dr. Mindy Pelz, her name is. And in there, that's where I learned about all the cycle stuff. I didn't actually know that much. No. I had a general idea, but now I really know. I can see the exact. And sometimes Carol will be acting away and I'll look and I'll say, oh yeah, you're pretty much on the day to transition into this next phase of the cycle. So it's way easier for a guy too. All you guys out there
listening.
Yeah, that are listening.
So, but yeah, I mean, that's part of entrepreneurship is like understanding, because it's not, and Travis jump in, like, but it's not just we're on computers. It's not, it is a literal lifestyle where you have to manage the shit out of yourself way more than you ever had to at a job.
Part. I mean, there are people that are probably going to be watching this and stuff that actually work digitally, but they work for someone else. So it's maybe more so like a job. But for us, for agency owners and stuff like that, and the other entrepreneur types, you have to manage yourself
big time
and create for me anyway, I can't have just total fly by night and wake up every day and whatever comes. You have to have some kind of routine and schedule and stuff. I remember watching this show about the guys in the Supermax prison in Colorado or something. They're 23 hours a day in the cell, and then they go out into this other little room with a fence on the top. And even they're in there forever. They never get out. I said, you have to have a routine. They have their little routine when they do their push-ups and when they jog around that little cell. That having the routine is what makes you feel whole. And obviously, I'm not equating a digital lifestyle to being in Supermax prison for life.
I mean,
just the idea of having some kind of routine or some kind of, even like you were saying, you go for a walk, ideas, activities you can do when you need to pivot for the day, part of the day and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think having milestones that you're going after is important. I think having shorter milestones is probably a good idea for a while because success will give you so much energy. I am so grateful that I don't have to deal with cycles. I do have a wife, so obviously I experienced that too. Yeah.
Wow.
So, but like one way to keep the motivation going is having milestones that you can hit fairly easily. And then from there, you can find bigger milestones. So I always have big milestones I'm going for. And then I have smaller things that I know I need to do to get to that point. And I'm just biting off as much as I can every day. I mean, literally, if you just moved your business 1% forward every day in a year, that's over 350% of improvement. And every business would flow from that. So that's probably the biggest thing I do. But yeah, my schedule is pretty fluid. I mean, I have things on my schedule. In fact, one of the consulting things I was doing lately, they wanted to meet with me every single morning at this time. And I did it for 2 or 3 weeks. I'm like, I can't do this. I'm sorry. I'm literally sitting here listening to you guys talk about nothing. I'm like, I cannot do that. We have to have deliverables. We have to have things we're working on. Like,
I can't handle meetings.
There are no rules really. That's the other thing too. I think social media makes us think it has to be a certain way when it doesn't. That's why pick a small milestone and try to hit it.
Yeah.
See how it makes you feel. See if it makes you money. Cause I did a lot of trial and error before I ever built a Kajabi. Like I did a lot of trial and error before I'm working on what I'm working on for Tap Member.
So the milestone kind of dictates what you're going to do in the day.
Yeah, it'll create your schedule
because
for you.
Definitely.
Nice.
Definitely does. Or it creates a series of tasks that I know I'm doing daily for a couple of weeks. Like right now I'm hiring a UX designer and a product person. And so most of my day, like this morning before you guys, was interviews for these different designers that I'm trying to hire. And then the rest of my week, I have it all scheduled up. There's so many good tools now that help you stay organized with this stuff. It's so great.
Yeah,
Like,
there's for sure good stuff out there
A
now.
lot of people are big on celebrating your little wins too during the
Mhm.
day. There's just even those minor little things that you accomplish during the day.
Totally. And like in the spiritual world, there's all these manifesting people, and there's the lady Esther Hicks. I don't know if
Mhm.
you ever listened to
Oh
her.
yeah,
Good person to listen to.
Abraham. Yep.
Yep, Abraham Hicks. And she talks about getting in the flow. And we just rewatched Soul, the Disney show Soul,
Yes. Yep.
and how he gets in the flow. And when he gets in the flow, then he goes to the spiritual world. Here are some ways you can look at what's called the flow. And it's really, think of the flow as water, and water wants to flow a certain direction. And right now, every day, there are things that are happening in your life that are flowing. And if you can just jump in that water and flow with it, you might be surprised. It might be a nap. It might be a walk. It might be journaling, whatever it is. That brings you to the next thing. Now, water, I may realize, oh crap, that's my deadline. So now I try to swim back upstream. And sometimes you do have to do that and grab the shore, but you shouldn't be doing that every single day. You should not be doing that on a regular basis. You need to build a surfboard or a sailboat and navigate the water that way
You're like
by
a
creating
kayak.
momentum.
Yes, a kayak. I love kayak.
A kayak is and a kayak can actually go upriver. So that's probably the biggest hack. Find your kayak that helps
Yeah.
you go against. But I always think about when I was that kid, and that irrigation water was flowing, and it's like my creativity just came to life there. And water is incredible. I could dam water up and it will stop for a while, but you know what it'll do? It'll find the
By the
weakest
way.
point and it'll flow down there. And so when you're starting out as an entrepreneur, don't try to dam the water. You might have a kayak, but you might not. But the best thing to do is just flow with the river. Like, just go where it goes.
Yep.
Maybe you're like, there's no opportunities right now. Well, in 5 minutes, you're down the river a mile and there's new opportunities.
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah.
every day is a different opportunity in reality.
Yep. And I
So,
think that's that it comes back to, I think part of it is age, and we've all, I'm almost 50. You guys you're Travis, you're in your 50s, right?
I'm 52. Yep.
Yeah, you're 53. Like I think so. Did I just out you?
Yeah. Never been
Um, no, you can't look like you're 30. Anyway, but I think one of the things that happens with age is that you definitely start to learn how to just go with the flow. Like
Yeah.
and I think if you knew, we have 4 daughters between us, 36, 27, 23, and 15.
That's pretty good. Pretty fast.
I'm a mom.
Yeah.
What can I tell you? But I think one of the things that they've all learned is how to go with the flow at a younger age than it took us, because it
Mhm.
isn't, I don't know that I think it takes experience as an entrepreneur or as just a human to realize, like, to have that faith and trust, right?
Mhm.
But if you can learn that younger, obviously better, because you're not going to waste a whole bunch of time trying to do it your way instead of just going with it. And I think one of the most important pieces of that is to be open, because a lot of people will say, yeah, I'm going with the flow, and then something will come through them and they just shut it right, like, fuck that, I'm not doing it, rather than being open to it and like
Mhm.
let the idea come in and sit with it for a second before you kibosh it immediately. So I think it's important to kind of know that can come earlier, but between the three of us, we've all done it the hard way, probably for a long time, and now we appreciate kind of just going with the flow.
Yeah.
You have
Well,
yeah, go.
let me say something about being young is when you're young, you have decades to make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Decades. Like, literally, I didn't build Kajabi till I was 38. So I made a lot of mistakes for a long time. And so part of your going with the flow when you're young is just be okay with the mistakes. Like, let the mistakes find the solution, and you will do that. In fact, some of your best mistakes will give you an edge later that might be the thing that gets the job or builds the business. So take a lot of shots and make a lot of mistakes. I mean, it's because all of us, no matter what we think we know, we're all in a dark room and we have no
Mm-hmm.
flashlight. Every single one of us. That's life, spirituality, entrepreneurism. We're just basically stuck in a dark room, feeling around, trying to figure out what's next.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
when you're young, you sure can take some big swings and make a fool out of yourself, and nobody cares, you know?
Yeah. I always tell my kids, this is when you're going to screw up a lot in your 20s. Try everything.
Yeah.
Like,
Take
try everything.
chances.
Just do whatever you
Totally.
want to do. Because first of all, no matter what, mom and dad will be here always. But number two, like, you're learning something every time you try. I mean, my first business was Freedom Event Planners. I think I did 1 or 2 big events, but I learned I knew nothing about business. Like it flopped because I didn't know how to run a business. I knew how to sell and I knew how to create an event, but I didn't know how to run a business. And everything after that, you know, we've had a couple iterations of the content company. We were, you know, originally I was Balance Advertising Solutions. We did branding and we did websites and we did, and eventually we found our way to where we are now. But I think there's this fear of screwing up for a lot of young people because the pressure is on, right? They're seeing social media. They're seeing one out of a million 25-year-olds who is making six figures a month. And that isn't real life. And I think I love that you're saying that. They need to just try
they're
stuff
also,
and screw it
they're
up.
looking up to mentors that may be lying about their success.
Many of them are lying.
Many
for
of
sure.
them, yes.
Yep.
And so, you know, when we were that age, like we had a little bit of internet, a little bit of YouTube eventually, but I definitely had my mentors that I looked up to, but I knew they had real businesses. Like I think when you're young, pick your mentors wisely.
Yep.
And I think all of them know this. They probably know it better than we do because they see the bullshit quicker. You know, I think us older people fall for it. Not that we're old, but
Hey,
young
now
kids are so cynical about everything.
they are.
It's like, but you really can find mentors. And way back when I found audible.com, that's when my mentors started. That's when my mind started exploding to, I think that's the thing too, is you have to be dreaming. If you want to be a really good entrepreneur, you have to have the ability to dream, because as a successful entrepreneur, like employees shoot and hit the target everybody can see, but an entrepreneur is shoot and hitting the target nobody can see.
Yep.
And that's what you're dealing with every single day. And you have to learn how to trust the voice inside of you, trust your gut. Don't share your ideas with everybody. That's the other thing too. People think, oh, if I can get buy-in from my family, nope, don't do that.
No.
Look to a mentor first that maybe did it already, and look to them and study them and look at their YouTubes, read their books. But you have to protect your ideas.
Yep.
It's not a place where you're trying to pitch and get buy-in. You're going to get buy-in when someone pays you money for whatever it was. Then you can talk about it. And
I mean, also most family members that are 9-to-5ers, for example, that are, we'll call them in the matrix still maybe, but certainty is their number, you know, Tony talks about that, right? Certainty, uncertainty. So their number one human need is certainty. So when you come to them and say, I'm going to do this, everybody's, oh my God, how are you going to pay the bills? And you know, like the whole thing happens. Well, you need certainty. I don't necessarily. So I'm going to go do the thing, but it's easy to derail a person in your family when you can't see their vision. Like, I mean, my mom and dad are gone, but who knows? I mean, my parents were entrepreneurial, so I think they would have been right, like cheering us on, but your mom probably she was very much certainty driven. No? Do you think she would have? Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, but a lot of parents won't even quietly support you. They'll just out loud in your face be like, no, you're stupid. What are you doing? Go get a job. And so keeping your ideas close to your heart, share it with a couple of mentors, like you said, but I think beyond that, do you have any other questions that you want to, I want to know that.
We're going super, what?
Number 13.
Number 13?
I want number 13.
Well, you're around my age. When you were younger, did you watch wrestling ever? When you were
a young guy? I saw Hulk Hogan live.
You did?
WrestleMania, I have no idea. Yeah, of course.
Who's
Fresno, California.
Who's your favorite wrestler as a younger person?
It's got to be the Hulk. Come on, Hulkamania.
Hulkamania.
And then Andre the Giant.
Yeah.
Superfly, whatever his name was. I can't remember his name.
Snuka, yeah.
There it is. There we go.
I know Vaynerchuk always goes on about Randy Savage. He's talking about
Randy Savage for sure.
I don't know him, but he actually answered one of my Instagram comments once. It was during COVID, and he had a picture of him and a bunch of celebrities, and one was with Dwayne Johnson. He said, I can't wait to spend time with these people again. I said, did you tell The Rock that the Macho Man is your favorite wrestler? And he said, yeah, it's the first thing I said when I met him. And he had a laughing face. He just very big into awesome. I've seen him at wrestling events, but yeah, for me, I liked Paul Orndorff, I think, Mr. Wonderful, when I was younger.
Oh yeah, of course.
I don't even know who that is.
He was very muscular, the muscular guys. And yeah, Jimmy Snuka. But as I got older, I got into, even in my 20s, I liked watching it, like Stone Cold Steve Austin and on The Rock.
Sure.
People, man.
Oh yeah, the Rock, I mean, that's why he became such a superstar, because he was a superstar in that moment. You smell what The Rock is cooking or whatever.
Yeah, he's awesome on the mic skills and stuff like that.
Yeah, he was good. Okay, final question.
Wait, hold on. Did you guys watch the wrestling movie?
You did.
the dramatic, it was really sad.
Didn't you watch
Wait,
it
the
was
documentary on Netflix?
No, the documentary or
no,
a
it's not the documentary.
Oh,
It's about the family and the sons. It's
the
got
Von Erichs that with
Zac
Zac
Efron is in
Efron.
it.
No, I haven't seen that yet.
You should watch it. It's
Iron.
That is a
Iron
sad,
Claw.
that is
That
a
is
very
a-
sad story.
I
It's a
don't.
sad story.
Yeah, but there's a
It's
bunch of
sad.
brothers and stuff, suicides. And
Don't ruin it.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's sad.
very sad.
Um.
I was gonna ask, how come we're here in Canada talking to a guy in California wearing a Yankees hat?
Wow.
Yo, what's
Just
going on?
put me on blast, eh? Holy shit. Because I'm feeling masculine energy today. So I
Yes,
wear
sir.
my Nike's hat. I mean, my Nike's hat. Holy
Your
crap.
Dodgers hat.
No,
When
my
you're
Dodgers hat.
when you're mellow, you
Oh,
wear
that-
the
yeah.
Dodgers hat.
When I'm feeling mellow, I wear my LA hat. But when I'm feeling like
Business, all
I wear
business.
the Yankees.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
why.
that's a
But
good
thanks,
works.
Ken.
That's a good
Holy-
reason. What was your last question?
My last question is, who is your favorite singer? I know you guys don't listen to music a lot, which is, me and Paler, that's one way we're very different. But who is your
Well,
favorite?
the person I
artist?
love right now is Zach Bryan.
Oh.
Zach country.
Mhm. Have you always
he
liked country
just-
music?
Oh yeah, I've always liked country,
Grew up
but
on a
I,
farm.
On
I
Triple I
lost.
now?
Kicked in
I
the head by a
lost-
horse. Of course he loves
I know.
country
I
music.
lost my love for it because it got pretty bro-y for a while. It was funny. It's funny to listen to it. But Zach Bryan especially has brought back this soulful music, and he has that song called Bass Boat. Have you listened to that song?
No, but I guess we have to though now.
Yeah, now we will
You
be.
should listen to it. It's very emotional. It talks about parent trauma.
Aw.
I do this a lot in the evening, like when I'm trying to go to sleep. Pay and I will listen to meditation stuff, and I've done this with Morgan Whalen, and Morgan Whalen I also like too. But Zach Bryan's song, and I'll put it on loop, and then I'll listen to it as I'm falling asleep, and I've been able to mentally travel back to my childhood
Wow.
through the music,
That's pretty cool.
just because it's so soulful. And
Right.
I've been doing these visualizations where I go back to my childhood as myself, as an adult, and be a dad to myself. Like you know what this is. This is
Yep.
Tony Robbins 101 right here.
Inner child. Well, I don't know if it's Tony Robbins. He doesn't talk too
But
much.
it's somewhere we all
Yeah,
found
like,
it
we
eventually through
know-
the
yeah.
self-help.
Yeah, definitely.
And
I think
so
he needs
I
more
go
inner
back
child
and I
work,
like
really.
tell this little kid, like I don't want to get emotional, but I'll tell the little kid who's on the farm, like
Aw.
all the cool stuff that's gonna happen. Sometimes I go back as his dad. Sometimes I go back as this older friend that he meets. And I've had some crazy visualizations about life and existence of if I'm going back to that kid in my imagination and I'm talking to him and I'm encouraging him, probably just with thoughts. I doubt if anybody, because it's not real, it's in my imagination. Is someone doing that right now in the future? Is 70-year-old Travis coming back and encouraging this version of myself? Like,
Yeah, that's pretty
and
cool.
music does that, and
Yep.
for whatever reason lately, country music is on this really cool, soulful. I don't know. Yeah, I got into what's his name, Jelly Roll, for a little while because
my
he had all
God.
these really soulful songs, and I like that. I like songs that make you think and feel good, because I love discovering the life journey. We're all on this hero's journey. All of us are, of discovering how do we live, how do we exist, how do we love other people, Tony stuff. That's why I love going to Tony for Pay and I was so huge. It's funny because I used to make fun of Tony. I watched the I'm Not Your Guru on Netflix,
Uh-huh.
and that was when we wanted, and that's actually the Date with
Didn't you-
Destiny event is in
Yeah,
there.
like you booked your UPW, she said, right watching that pretty much.
That's right. And
Yeah.
UPW is the first one you go to. It's when you walk on coals, and it is cheesy, but it's like Pale's World. You walk in, it's like music, they're dancing right away. Pay like she's on. I get in there, I'm like, oh God, no.
See? Ken won't.
Can
he's,
you
he's really
can relate?
he's resisting.
I
He's-
did the virtual.
No, it is not the same.
It's-
You got to
no,
come.
you got to
Wait,
go,
take him.
and you're gonna
Take him
feel
away.
like that. You're gonna feel like that for who knows how long, a day, maybe a day and a half, and then all of a sudden you're gonna be dancing. You're gonna get the point of why you're dancing.
Yeah.
And
might
then you're gonna
take me
start
till day
talking to
4.
people. You're gonna start hugging strangers.
Yeah.
You're gonna start meeting
Yeah.
best friends. It's
Let's see.
weird how it
We
works.
should do a UPW, the 4 of us,
We
actually. I
should
think
totally go back and do that.
I think we should.
Okay.
There, it's decided.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that piece, because I think Ken and I both have done tons of inner child work, me more than
I've
him.
never tried that. slant though, to go back and tell the kid what to expect kind of thing.
what's coming. Yeah.
I've always gone back and
Well,
said, it's okay, you can release your hold on me now and let me accomplish these things I want
totally.
to accomplish.
It's beautiful.
It's
I think
helpful.
it
You know,
is.
you know where I learned how to do it too is Pay and I've done a lot of, you know,
Plant
what's the right
medicine.
word? Plant medicine stuff. And we did an MDMA thing. And MDMA is a form of something, you can look it up. And you do it with like a shaman or a counselor, and it's beautiful. You mentally go to the state of just bliss, and your memory is perfect. You can remember your whole life. And you sit with this person who's very loving. And it's like, tell me about your childhood, tell me about this. And you just see it. That's what first got me to do it. Now I'm able to do it without the plant base. I can do it on my own, which is really powerful. So
I love that. It's
gives
beautiful.
us
Cool.
gives us a chance to rewind our life and maybe find the good things, even though sometimes life has been very painful, so it's hard. But
Yeah, there's always
know.
good though. There's always something good to focus on. Well,
Yep.
my friend, thank you so much for coming on here and being our first guest. I feel like we could talk for another 10 hours.
Yeah, it's gonna be
but
hard for everyone else to live up to this one, I think.
yeah, this was a gooder, as
What
they
can I
say.
say? You guys are cool. It's fun hanging out. So I'm glad
Awesome.
we got to do this.
All right. Thank you so much. And anytime you want to come back, I feel like you need to definitely come back. But
Sure.
I love you. Tell Pei I love her, and we will see you soon.
Thanks a lot, Travis.
Bye.
Thanks.
See you
See ya.
later.